Facts Not Fear will be answering your biggest questions about the coronavirus.
And a new Maine community college program is giving some students a free education to help fill high-demand jobs.
The storm is now gone. The weekend looks quiet, but it will be turning colder.
Maine's largest city will be deciding on whether or not to use more ranked choice voting.
We'll tell you which two elections advocates are hoping to use it in. This is the Morning Report. Good morning, everyone. I'm Sharon Rose Vasnes.
And I'm Lee Goldberg. Welcome to Friday, end of the work week for most people, I would guess. Mr. Gutner, what can you bring us weather-wise?
Well, it's certainly a lot quieter out there, but it's also a lot colder feeling than it has most of the week. Temperatures are starting out here in the 20s, some teens up in the mountains, but that wind's still active, and wind chills are going to be a problem most of the day. Currently, we're seeing wind chills in the teens. A couple of flurries coming off of Lake Ontario, believe it or not, making it all the way into Maine as the storm is to our north, but we'll see high pressure work in for the weekend. So these next 3-4 days are going to be storm free and nice and quiet for the most part. We'll get a lot of sunshine this morning and probably the brightest part of our day. By midday, clouds are starting to fill in, especially up over the hills and higher terrain. And you also see some more streamers and snow showers coming through the mountains and central highlands. Afternoon highs will reach the mid-30s, so cold, and with that wind blowing around, it'll feel like teens most of the time, but those clouds should be melting away later on today. Looks like around sunset. Should be a nice one. Sun, breezy, cold to start, 25. Partly sunny and brisk midday, 32. And then clearing out this evening, but staying on the chilly side. Temperatures reach the mid-30s. We'll get into the weekend details coming up in a few minutes.
All right, Todd, thank you very much. We are 4 days from Election Day, and in Portland, voters will be weighing in on how to vote. Ranked choice voting back on the ballot. This time the question is whether or not to expand it in Portland. Advocates with the Fair Elections Portland campaign are working to get their message out in these final days because turnout for them is key. In order for question A to pass, 30% of voters who cast ballots in the last gubernatorial election will have to vote in favor. That means nearly 10,000 people in the city will have to vote yes. Portland was the first city in the state to use ranked choice for its mayoral races. That started in 2011. But now those behind ranked choice want it to be used for school board and city council races as well.
For us, it's really a no-brainer for Portland, and I hope that other towns and cities and other places around the country will think, could this help with our elections? Could this make our representation work better?
Now, there is no formal group against the measure, but on the state level, the Maine GOP is leading an effort for a people's veto to repeal ranked choice voting in Maine's presidential elections.
And now here's your morning rush in 90 seconds or less. And today it's all about coronavirus. More than 82,000 people around the world are now infected with the virus. It has spread to every continent except Antarctica. Also, healthcare workers in China are trying to figure out whether animals can carry or spread coronavirus after a patient's pet dog tested positive. Now, in the U.S., 60 cases of coronavirus have been confirmed. One case in California might have come from a community transmission. The patient hasn't traveled internationally or had any close contact with a known patient. Health officials say the patient was hospitalized but wasn't tested for coronavirus for several days because he or she didn't fit the federal criteria. The worry over coronavirus is continuing to hurt Wall Street as well. Yesterday, the Dow dropped nearly 1,200 points. That's the most points ever in a single day for the Dow, and it's on pace for its worst week since 2008. But experts are still saying not to panic.
And there is some risk, but, basically, I think the U.S. outlook looks pretty good.
Stocks such as airlines, hotels, travel companies, and physical stores suffered some of the worst losses. And a lot of people have been wondering if the Summer Olympics in Tokyo will be canceled because of the coronavirus. The World Health Organization says no decision will be made on the Games in the near future. With less than 5 months to go until the Olympics begin, the WHO says it is working closely with people in charge of the Tokyo Games, providing them with assessment and risk management advice. And that's your Morning Rush in about 90 seconds. For more on these stories, check out our website or mobile app.
Good morning, I'm News Center Maine Sean Stackhouse. Coming up in a few minutes, I'm going to be joined by the director of the Maine Center for Disease Control and Prevention. He's going to be answering a lot of your questions about the coronavirus, so if you have any, be sure to text those into us.
All right, good to see everybody this morning. The storm is gone, but there's still some wind in its wake. In fact, we're getting gusts around 25 miles per hour, and they'll crank a little bit more throughout the day, hitting about 35 miles per hour or so midday. That's not enough to cause additional power outages, but it is enough to be kind of annoying if you're walking around town. We'll get into your weekend details in just a couple minutes. Stick around.
As fears around the COVID-19 or coronavirus grow, certainly there are a lot of people that have a lot of questions.
Yeah, and our Sean Stackhouse is in the newsroom this morning with the director of the Maine CDC to help answer some of those questions. Good morning, guys.
Lee and Sharon, good morning. I'm here with Dr. Nirav Shah, the director of the Maine Center for Disease Control and Prevention, who's here to answer your questions about COVID-19 or the coronavirus. Now, let's get right into it, and there are some interesting ones that we already have had sent in to us. I want to start here. What's the most effective mask to wear in order to avoid exposure? Do people even need to be wearing masks right now?
It's a great question, Sean. We get a lot of questions about folks from folks about what they should do to really stay safe. And among those is whether they should wear a mask. What we recommend and what the United States CDC recommends is that masks have a place, but they're really for individuals who are experiencing symptoms for when they go to a hospital. The purpose of the mask is really to prevent someone who's not feeling well from spreading the disease to other people, namely healthcare workers. For someone who's walking around their neighborhood, a mask doesn't really do anything to reduce their risk, not just for coronaviruses, but a number of other diseases too. So we don't recommend them.
Now, there's another really interesting question that is really talking about how this is spread. So if you use cash instead of debit, are you more susceptible, or does it not spread that way?
We've gotten a lot of questions internationally about where the virus lives and how long it can last on surfaces like cash or debit cards or packages that people might be receiving. The fact of the matter is, based on what we know right now, getting the virus off of a surface does not seem to be a way that it's transmitted. What we know is that it really requires somebody to cough or sneeze in a really, really significant way, and then you inhale those droplets into your own lungs. That really is the main route of exposure. Based on what we know right now, whether you use cash, whether you use debit, whether you're getting packages from a part of the world where the disease is spreading, doesn't really affect exposure.
And another interesting question that we had come into us from a mother of, or a parent of small children. Now, it's really tough to say exactly how it's affecting each child differently, but is it something that, how does the coronavirus actually affect these young children?
What's been interesting about coronavirus internationally is that not that many young children have been affected. That's a really good sign. But what we know is that when they have gotten the coronavirus, the symptoms are similar to those as they have in adults. And those symptoms are similar to those of the flu: cough, fever, other really, really significant chest pain and shortness of breath. Those are the same symptoms that children can have as well as adults. But internationally, children have not been as affected by the coronavirus as have older adults.
Great, and I'm going to ask you quickly, what's the best way for folks to get up-to-date information about the coronavirus?
Well, I'm so glad you asked that, because we're in a situation right now where misinformation, not having accurate information, and the fear that can generate can spread even more quickly than this virus can. We recommend that everyone take steps to stay informed by checking out either the Maine CDC's website or the United States CDC's website. Both of our websites have large sections with lots of good coronavirus information that's accurate and up to date.
All right, fantastic. And Dr. Nirav Shah is going to be joining us again coming up at 6:30. And if you do have questions, be sure to send those in to us. And we're going to be answering more in the next half hour. But for now, Lee and Sharon, I'll send things back to you.
Right. Excellent questions from our viewers and really helpful information there.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much, guys. All right, Chloe Thibault is going to join us now with what's coming up. Hey, Chloe.
Hi, Lee and Sharon. Good morning, everyone. An exciting new program is happening at select community colleges around the state thanks to a $3.6 million Harold Alfond grant. I'll explain how this initiative is helping some students get a free education after the break.
Some kids had a day off yesterday from the storm. I think all schools are back in session unless they don't have power. There are still a few areas that do have power outages. But temps today are going to be colder and it's going to be windy, so it's back to wearing the winter gear, the hats, the gloves, and the puffy coat. No longer that spring coat. We'll get into the weekend forecast coming up right after the break.